Okay, it's 6:30. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Grafton Finance Committee. For now, we're live. There's nobody remote, right? So if we take any votes, we don't have to do roll call at the beginning of the meeting. So this meeting is being conducted under the open meeting law. It's a live public meeting and Zoom webinar. I should state that this meeting is being recorded. Evan, because we're live, do I have to take attendance with the webinar? Or?
No, I don't think so.
I don't
have
so,
anybody remote. So.
Okay. Perfect. All right, so we're going to get started, and the first thing we're going to do is Evan is going to update us on the budget, and hopefully, if we're happy with what he's presenting, we may be able to take some action on the budget tonight. So, Evan, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So I passed out paper. If anybody doesn't have it that wants it, it is over there on the side there. But this just shows what we did in 22. The fiscal 23 budget that we originally discussed as part of our budget message. The fiscal 23 budget that's been adjusted, and that has a couple of different things in it. It has our salary and classification adjustments. It also has the addition of the assistant town planner, the removal of the plan reviewer, and we did add back in the conservation field inspector position to try to bolster all that land use stuff.
That was everything that you had in the memo that you sent out to us last week.
Yep.
Okay.
No other changes beyond that. I didn't miss anything as far. So you can see the original to adjusted. Those are our key figures. I also broke it out into the original to adjusted percentages. So again, that's between what we presented to originally and what we've done since then. And then the total percent change overall is the far right.
Okay, so the budget increased by $129,000 from what you originally presented to us. We knew you were going to have to make salary adjustments.
Yes.
So I think the best way to do this, if the committee is okay with that, is for Evan to walk through by the expenditure category and tell us what changed within that particular category. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. Is that all right with everybody in the committee? Okay.
It's mostly, and I can, let me get there, but it's
Mostly salaries?
90% of that is salary.
Perfect.
It's really, I can go line by line if you'd like. You also obviously
say what wasn't salaries.
Yeah, what wasn't salaries was the capital warrant article.
Yep.
And then in the general government, I had 30,000 in a line item for those adjustments. So I reduced that.
Is there, I guess a very important question is under public safety, the $24,000, I'm gonna guess you haven't settled with the police yet. 'Cause that doesn't look like a police contract. So.
It does not. And so that'll be something that in all likelihood we'll be talking about into the fall.
Okay, all right, so this was all done based on the salary survey that was done?
Correct.
Adjustments through. Where are we with regards to unexpended tax capacity? Are you still where you thought you were going to be?
We're a little bit lower, actually. Just to be transparent, I did meet with Jay today and just talk through some of this because I think we're a little lower. But we're at, we have our projected surplus is $1,045,000.
Okay.
So we are pretty confident that we are going to see that projected surplus grow as our revenue comes in because we've been so conservative. But we still feel comfortable with where we are, and I think. Maybe when Jay's doing his presentation, he can speak to his level of comfort with where we are.
Okay.
Or not. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I feel comfortable that that's where we're ending up.
Okay. Yeah, I think your new growth number is low, which is good. I think your marijuana number is low.
Yeah.
Which is good. So I think at the end of the day, I think you'll probably be okay on that. So your goal was to somewhere between 1.25 and 1.5 is where you hope to end up at the end of the.
Yeah, that's what was
set
our
the tax
original projections. Obviously, we made some tweaks post that projection and tried to keep everything as equitable as possible between town side and school side. Was really I think the message that we wanted to hit.
Yeah.
I think that we've done that. We would have liked to have been tighter. The salary study definitely came in higher than we anticipated, especially I feel like the library had something to do with that too, with the expanded positions, and also
Sure.
trying to make up the shortfalls that we're not paying people where they should be. That number was higher than I personally anticipated. Through no fault of the library, just how it plays out. Everything else seemed right in line with kind of what I was thinking.
And you
So-
still have a set aside for police negotiations
We
if
do,
and when you settle that contract.
we do, yep,
Okay?
yep, so I don't think, well,
Well,
never mind.
You can't, I know, you can't say.
Yep.
So in terms of the budget, the finance committee had raised the issue that we were not in favor, well, at least I wasn't in favor, of the building, plan reviewer. That's
Yep.
out of the budget now.
Correct, yep,
And you've put in the assistant town planner.
Yep.
And the field supervisor for conservation. Hi, Heather. For
yes.
conservation.
Yep, so what we did was, that was kind of our discussion point around January of next year. And so what we did was, between the comments that you folks had made, and the comments that the select board had made, it was pretty apparent that everyone really wanted to see that accelerated, given what we have on the horizon for development here in Grafton. So we were able to take the $18,000 that we thought, or that was already in there for a consultant. We combined that with the $32,000 that we removed out of the building department, put that into a salary line for the planner, assistant planner rather. And we're actually gonna be moving forward with that, after the next select board meeting.
So you hope to have somebody on board before Chris goes on his leave?
Correct. So I don't wanna shoot ourselves in the foot like that. We do need some coverage there, but I'm comfortable that we'll get somebody before then.
So, but the point is if you don't get somebody to fill that position, you have the 50 to bring a consultant in to help you through the transition.
Yep, yeah, yes, I would very much like to avoid that. I'd like to.
No, I agree. I
in
agree with you
position,
100.
but
I
yeah.
agree with you 100%. I'm sorry. Questions for Evan on the budget?
I'm sorry if I'm just forgetting this one, but why did the capital articles go down so much?
So we had originally budgeted, that 44,096 was a capital line we had for BVT. Then we.
Oh, that's the thing that Greg
Yeah.
caught.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
yep.
saying we, okay?
Oh, okay. That's the thing that we caught.
That's the royal we.
Yes.
So we caught that we had basically double budgeted that, so we backed it out.
So how much was the salary increase from the study?
You wanna talk about the total number?
So it would be the 129 plus the 44 plus the 30,000.
Right.
Okay. So
So almost 200.
Almost 200.
170.
Now, that puts you, listen, you did the study. The whole purpose of the study was to make your salaries competitive and bring your people where
Right.
they should be. So
Right.
you're comfortable that your people are where they are?
Yep.
I take it morale is going through the roof at the town hall right now?
You know what? I've done this before, and
And nobody's ever happy.
no. So we
Certainly not the police. I'm kidding.
That was you that said that. I'm still negotiating. So no, I think by and large people are happy. I think by and large people feel heard and validated, and you have some people that were getting outsized increases. Those people are not happy. The people that were getting no increases, those people are happy. But I think through our conversations with staff and department heads, they're coming to understand that this is now a roadmap, and so it's not arbitrary. It's not based on, well, that person, I like that person, I don't like that person. All of that animosity.
You have
is kind of floating around.
scales and you have ranges
what
and you
it
have
is. Yep.
justification for the
Yeah,
figures.
it's still merit based. Where if you weren't performing, you don't automatically get a raise. But if you are going to get a raise, you know what it's going to be, and you can plan on where you're going to be 5 years from now. And I think it gives us some stability. And so I do anticipate there'll be some people that come before us trying to adjust that. But that's par for the course, really.
Sue, did you have a question?
No, I didn't.
Heather, anything?
Nope.
Angelina? Greg?
Do you have a number of what the excess levy capacity was for the end of last year?
Oh, the end of last year.
Well,
Let me.
what you started with before we did the budget?
What was the unexpended tax capacity going into this budget?
1.7.
So you used
I
about
can give you-
600, you used about 600,000,
Yes.
but it could be less depending on where the new growth, oh, sorry.
You're at the mute button.
I don't like hearing myself in stereo.
Um,
It could be less at the end of the day, once you get the new growth numbers, marijuana, where you come in with your estimated receipts when you finalize in the fall.
Right. And that's what, when we had originally started meeting with Jay and Anita, I think that's what we were targeting was maybe 500,600,000. We got the chapter 70 number changed. I think our new growth number is going to change.
I think you're really low on new growth, which is good.
I do too. And we were low last year too. We figured we were at 1.2, we wound up at 1.7. So, I mean, I feel comfortable that this number is going to grow and give us some cushion. I don't think we've fluffed any revenue. I think we really,
I love your
We're
conservative
focused.
approach. I love your conservative approach. And then, the TRICOM, we met with you, you and Jay are gonna get together, you're gonna do a nice 5-year projection, you'll have all the numbers at that time, you'll have a good handle on how that override is gonna last.
yep, and I think Jay and I met earlier, I think he's gonna speak to that when it's his turn, so.
Okay.
One more?
Go ahead, please, Greg.
Any changes in expectation for, health insurance? You still 8%? Or,
We're yeah. We have some tricks up our sleeve. I think we met with the tech today to start trying to finalize some things, but the pessimist in me says 8%.
Okay.
Mark,
Yes,
do you have
go ahead.
were you given any indication it could be higher than 8%?
No, that seems to be our worst case scenario is
Okay.
8%. We were trying to leverage a potential 5 to 6%. That's what we were
Right.
really shooting for. Unfortunately, our claim numbers really give us not a great starting point for negotiation. So
Okay.
I think that we're budgeting for 8. We hope to see 7. If we can get that, it's probably a win for us actually. But what we're talking with the PEC committee is probably a 1 year, and then we're gonna take a deeper dive and look
Okay.
at some regional opportunities we may have. Even looking at GIC. Well, we're gonna look at all of it. We're just gonna take it on its face and look at everything and see what we can do to maybe.
Because I knew at one point GIC wasn't profitable for us at all.
GIC actually hurt us because
Yes.
they really increased.
They had an increase, but the other thing that happened, because we actually had a conversation with a consultant, that one of the factors was they were dropping Fallon, which then made Grafton balk, because we had a lot of
Okay.
people in Fallon at the time, and then GIC didn't wind up actually doing that.
They're gonna have to this year.
Right, exactly. So, but it looks like if you trended it out, I think you're probably comparable actually to where you were, but I think moving forward we need to look at, if we're in more of a collective environment, is that going to help us be more stable over time? Maybe it won't, and we'll stay exactly where we are, but I think we need to look at everything at the same
Yep.
time.
Our rates came in around 7% in our group, so I think 7% is a good target
Yeah.
for that.
Disappointingly, yes.
So what I would like to do, if it's okay with the committee, is we have the numbers by category. And last year we did it this way. So what I would like to do is put a motion, if it's okay with the committee, put a motion on the floor by category. Bless you. Have any debate you want to have within that category, if any, and then vote that category. Does that sound acceptable to the committee? So under general government, we have a proposed budget from the town administrator of $12,655,999. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second.
Is there any further discussion on that motion?
So the adjustment here includes the $30,000 that had previously been, so the adjustment there is 86,000 overall.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yep, correct.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Under public safety, we have a budget of $4,090,078. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. We'll skip schools and come back to that after we get the wonderful presentation from you, Mr. Cummings. Public Works, we have a budget proposal of $3,477,214. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Under Health and Human Services, we have a proposed budget of $639,126. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Under Culture and Recreation, we have a proposed budget of $1,387,798. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a, you guys gonna fight over it? Is there a second?
I kept my.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Debt service, we have a proposed debt service budget of $6,069,729. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Somebody else a chance, you know.
I was waiting for you.
You guys are so funny.
Second.
Thank you. So, of the 6,069,000, is that all excluded? Is there any in levy debt there? Or is that all excluded?
Well, there's some in levy,
But I'd say 90% of it's excluded?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Way up there.
Any further, discussion on that? Go
what
ahead, Jay. Greg, I'm sorry.
The 44,000 from Blackstone, was that under an exclusion or?
Yes,
Okay. But that's gonna be under a capital article, not debt service.
Right.
Okay.
No, the,
That's where we had it parked.
yeah,
The next line down.
gotcha. Okay, any further discussion on debt?
Why is there such a big difference between the 22 adopted budget and the 23 budget? Is there a bunch of stuff moved?
we refinance bonds.
Wow.
So sometimes when you refinance the bonds, the principal may be higher, but your interest will be lower.
That's a
So at the end of
significant
the day, you may pay a little bit more up front, but over the life of the bond, you pay less because the interest rates would have.
Yeah, we're saving $1 million over 10 years. So,
Yeah, I
That's good.
forget exactly how much we
oh, maybe
saved.
it was more than that.
Well, there's $1 million difference between the 22 budget and the 23 budget.
There you go.
100,000,
It's only 100,000.
120,000.
It's only a 2% increase. 5.9, 5.9.
No,
The
under
six.
capital articles.
Oh, we haven't got to that yet.
Sorry.
That's the next one.
Don't rush
That's
us.
what I
So I might have answered none of that correctly. I was on a whole different line. I don't know what's happening now.
All right, so just to reiterate, the motion on the floor right now is the capital budget of the debt service budget of $6,069,729. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Capital budget, okay. The capital budget is $1,298,271. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
There you go. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, so of the $1,298,000, how much of that is being funded through free cash and how much of that is being funded through the capital stabilization?
this is almost entirely BVT, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is, so.
Oh, this isn't the capital budget?
No.
Not all of it, no,
Ah,
right?
so now I'm confused.
Me too.
Okay,
Right. So because I'll have to get the placeholder from Evan to plug in the amount. So in ClearGov, those are all my line items, right?
Gotcha.
And so I don't have line items for these items because they haven't been budgeted for.
all right, so you've moved to answer Angelina's $1 million question. You've taken $1 million out of where that used to be under those capital articles and dispersed that $1 million throughout all the other line items. No?
No. So
Now I'm really confused.
in your capital article, that I had 10,000 for the Follett, and then there was for the BVT, and then I'll get the number from Evan, and that will then have to be plugged into this.
So we shouldn't vote on this yet because it's not final.
It's not final.
Right.
All right,
Final.
so,
Once you have the CIPC final number,
I do. I didn't know you were waiting on that. I apologize.
yeah, then we can add that in.
all right, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So we will not take,
But
we will not
still,
take
I
action
mean,
on that.
the original proposed budget is still almost $1 million less. I'm just confused about where that went.
Because that had capital articles that aren't in there yet.
Right, once I add those into the budget, then it will add up.
The CIPC, all
Yep.
those, like the $1 million
Yep.
that we spend every year for.
Yep.
for-
Right, because that's.
So we haven't
capital
added that to
plan.
this yet.
Correct.
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 All right, okay. I was in the right category, I just
yeah,
had the wrong,
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what we're doing right now.
Under capital articles and like that.
gives us a lot of confidence in our town administrator, doesn't it?
This is
I know
spreadsheet.
that. I know
Okay.
that's my sheet, but I'm on the 6 million still. It's a whole thing. I'm pulling stuff up, and Mary's talking about other stuff.
So Mark, until we get the final
Right, we're
number,
gonna
I'll
add the
withdraw my
1.5.
motion.
Thank you, I was gonna ask if you wanted to withdraw it.
Yeah, I got it right.
So,
Okay.
Hold on,
can I go back to my original question? If you have the capital budget, how much are you gonna take from free cash?
Yep.
And how much are you going to take from capital stabilization?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
All right. When you put the numbers in here.
No,
Greg, thanks
I
for
got it.
correcting me.
When I do my chart of account conversion, I'm changing it so our capital articles will have their own fund.
Perfect.
So then the ClearGov information will funnel right into that for us.
Perfect.
Right, so we are using $1,170,750 from capital stabilization. We are using, let me get down here. $229,000 from free cash. $60,000 shows up actually on our general fund side. But the total, hold on, is $1,509,750. That's
1509750.
Yep,
And
So
that
that's
will get
gonna be
added to
back.
the 1298710.
correct.
Is that the right number?
Yes.
All right, with regards to the capital budget, we've gone through the capital budget in great detail. Very comfortable with that. Very comfortable with the use from the capital stabilization fund for that. So if somebody wants to do the math for us,
I'm doing
and
That
add
doesn't add up, though.
1298,
Can you say that again? That doesn't add up.
Yeah,
What
hold
you
on.
told me.
Yeah, I got something. Going.
Yeah, that doesn't add up.
Let's put.
There's also the CPC money.
Yep. Well, that's the problem. So I'm
but
showing.
CPC monies, those are separate articles at
Right,
town
but they
meeting.
show up in the capital plan because it's got a different funding source.
Oh,
So
that's all right.
just come, maybe go on to something else. Let me come back.
You want to come back to this
I
one?
do, please.
Jay, you ready?
Yeah.
You guys okay if we bring the schools up?
Greg, did you withdraw your?
It was,
No,
Yeah.
Sue withdrew her motion.
I
You
would,
withdrew
yeah,
the
it was a
second.
second, yeah.
So this minus 50.
And Devin, I apologize. I didn't mean to cause any
Nope,
confusion.
nope. I think we're all. I'm good now.
Evan, while you're looking for
I caught
that, Mary, could you just look to see how much more we owe in our operating budget for capital for the Honeywell project?
For the Honeywell project. Okay. Did you get it? That should be the number.
I think we had several more years on this.
Probably.
8.5.
Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Oh, thank you for having us. All right.
She thought you needed.
I wasn't sure how it was gonna work with the slides, so just made a copy for everybody.
Is it going to work with the slides?
You got it.
Evan seems very, Evan seems very
On it.
confident,
I
Jay.
don't like not being in control.
Well, I just lost all my confidence on the other side. I don't have any idea what people are talking about for like 5 minutes there, but we're good now. I did the math. We're good.
All right.
You're funny. Hey, Sue, will you let us know if Dan jumps on so that we, okay. The floor is yours.
All right.
Dr.
Again,
Cummings.
thank you, everybody, for having us. So I put a bunch of slides together. You can obviously interrupt us as we go through them. We did the basic presentation to school committee. It wasn't particularly long. So we'll provide that general overview and then obviously take any questions that people have.
Got it. I got the cue now.
So in presenting that overview, we are going to speak to, and if you don't know, this is Anita Patel, brilliant director of finance.
We know Anita well.
She has, I haven't seen her much for the past month because she's been putting everything in ClearGov, and we'll talk about that. But just doing a fantastic job. So we're going to talk about quickly that transition to ClearGov, provide an overarching story of the FY23 budget, talk about the changes that we've had in terms of our budget assumptions, funding from the town and from the state, largely through Chapter 70, expenditures. For us, that's almost entirely personnel, or the majority is certainly personnel, enrollment, some concerns, and then just touch on capital. So the budget book that you've had to date until tomorrow has been like a Frankenstein version of the traditional book, and we tried to work in as much of the ClearGov components as we could. Probably maybe a month and a half ago, we were going to go with our traditional book, but obviously in the municipal side, everything was ClearGov. And we knew we were going to do it next year, but I don't know, we had some regrets, but in the end, we're happy with it. We said, you know what, let's just go for it. So we purchased a second license and went all in on ClearGov. So in the past month and a half, that's all, not all, but largely what Anita's been doing is putting thousands and thousands of lines into ClearGov. As of tomorrow morning, maybe even tonight, we will finally have a budget book in ClearGov, and we'll share that with you. The numbers don't change, but the format and the look certainly do.
Well, I was going to ask you, so the number from your traditional form and what's in ClearGov match?
No, those are the same, all the same.
That gives you some sort of confidence, right?
Yeah, it does. It was a tough month and a half just having, again, a combination of two books, if you will.
Yep, no, understood.
But the strengths you'll see, and the visuals are terrific. Gives you that access to really dive into the numbers, which is fantastic. And the transition part, in terms of moving over thousands of lines, that's just been hard. And Anita did a really nice job figuring out a way to provide context into the lines. Do you want to speak to that for a second?
Yeah, so right now, the previous year's budgets, we had line item descriptions under every line. So we were able to add them into ClearGov as well, just to say uniform.
Nice.
Which is good. We can go to the next one. In terms-
If I could just ask a question, compared to the number of line items in the town budget, you have a lot more within the school budget? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Do you know how many?
Too many.
I mean, thousands. It's-
She's still
Once you
budgeting.
throw it, we have a lot, period, but then you throw in each school, like their supplies, et cetera. It's
So all sub-accounts within
it's
each.
kind of crazy. What we're probably going to have to do eventually, we don't even have the book yet, but our next challenge is going to be that the book, once we hit submit, it will produce a book over 500 pages. That's just too
Wow.
much. We want to be transparent, but at some point, it's just too big. So we're going to have to thoughtfully pick and choose what pieces to keep. Do people really probably need to see every supply line from every school? Probably not, but anyhow, that's a good challenge to have.
As soon as you remove it, somebody will.
Oh, of course, of course.
You're right, Sue.
As soon as
You're
I
right.
said it, I knew that actually. So the overarching budget story, we've had a fantastic, super positive collaboration from really day one with Mary and Evan.
That's good to hear.
Regular, it's been just fantastic. And it's been just a huge value added to our entire process for sure. I'll speak to it, but we continue to do, I think, an absolutely great job with comparatively small funds or small funding compared to many other towns. Very proud of that. Continue to be very thankful to the Grafton community, certainly the Finance Committee. Just a few years ago, during a pandemic, an override was passed, and this story would not be the same without that override. I can promise you that. So a lot of thanks still go to the community. I think we're in very good fiscal shape for 23, optimistic about 24 and 25. I'll speak in a few minutes about that Chapter 70 increase, but that is a real game changer in a lot of ways. Cautiously optimistic about next year, with every passing day, a little more optimistic. Certain, I'll touch on this, but certainly if COVID comes back and impacts us, that's going to be a challenge in terms of certainly financial, but staffing wise, et cetera, as you know. And then paraprofessional staffing we'll touch on as well. And like with COVID, with every passing day, I feel a little bit better about that. I'll speak to that. And then lastly, we'll just touch on what I term as fantastic capital progress in the coming year. So we will continue to be one of the lowest per pupil, in terms of per pupil funding, one of the lowest in the state. Well, we're going to be in that bottom 3 to 5% and continue there. The only way we really move up is if other districts completely fall apart. That's really it.
Yeah, even with a 5.4% increase, you're still the lowest.
The amounts are just staggering.
It is.
I mean, I bring up Westboro all the time. Every year, if we had the same number of kids, just based on that rate, we're talking, it was like $10 million, like massive amounts of money. But that said, I think we're doing a fantastic job with what we have, and we're making progress. That's wonderful. The next one, this is SATs. We don't really hang our hat on SATs, but it gives you that idea in terms of performance. While we're at the low end in terms of the funding, we're in the top 50%, if not the top 25% on most measures across the state. And again, that's where I'm very proud of that and the work that we're doing. Okay, so our original budget assumptions were, for the most part, that everything was going to be more or less stable. We did anticipate back in the fall that we'd be carrying over some COVID-related positions. Obviously, didn't know which ones. And we assumed that Chapter 70 would be level funded. We had done the projections. Dan Gale, you may recall, knows more about Chapter 70 than any person I've ever met. Did some great projections years ago. It was probably four years ago now, maybe 5. And we anticipated an additional $56,000 for FY23. In reality,
Oh, sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. That's just one strike. The updated
You
budget
stole his
assumptions-
thunder. You stole his thunder.
It was just
It hurt.
using his hands to talk.
I'll start focusing this way. Instead of going up at 56 million, we're going up 1.2 million. That's fantastic for us. And the really great thing is really for FY23, that's great, but that basically sets a new foundation for us. So going forward, we don't expect to get less funding.
They'll never take away chapter.
That's fantastic for us. And then in terms of the carryover of COVID-related positions, right now, we're not anticipating any carryover of those positions. We did through our work with the ARPA committee and Mary and Evan. We have about 300,000, which covers us if everything just went south on us and COVID makes this massive impact in August or come back in August, and we had to try to hire back our nursing staff, that's what we would go to. So that's just earmarked in ARPA. It's only going to be used if it has to be.
So there'll be no operational
Correct.
impact in the budget
Yep.
that's presented. So regardless of COVID, you're confident with the budget that you have forward.
Yeah, absolutely correct. So it's just earmarked. Hopefully, there's a zero. Well, there's always a chance, but we're hoping not to touch it. But if we have to, at least that's where we can go. And the other pieces are, we think, stable right now. So this is right from ClearGov. I'm sure you recognize it. You have the revenue coming in. That's the municipal contribution to the town, and then you have state aid in terms of revenue, and then expenditures, instructional services, and a bunch of smaller ones. Instructional services, which I'll speak to, is almost entirely personnel for us. So we'll just touch on the revenue stuff first. Going back to pre-COVID, so after the override, or going into the override, we had forecasted with that plan that we had in place, what we anticipated to need for funding out of the override funds going forward. Obviously, COVID and everything else over the past couple of years have done a number on us, but you can see we had it planned out through 25. Evan can speak to it more than I can, but as a town, I don't think we would have made it to FY26 in great shape the way we were looking without that Chapter 70 money coming in. So that's a fantastic thing. Here's a quick overview of that Chapter 70 change, where we brought in 22, 11.3 million, and again, in that increase of 1.26 million for FY23 is an 11.16% change. That just doesn't happen. And you may be asking, why did it happen? I'll tell you.
You're getting better, Evan. You're getting better.
Yeah, no, he's really good. I feel like he's like staring at me like,
I am.
if this arm goes, he's gonna go.
Yeah.
It's a really, Chapter 70 is really complex. The formula is, it's a tough one. Probably the most complex one that I can think of that we utilize on a regular basis. But the two factors that helped us are both enrollment and low income. And these changes, which I'll speak to, come at the same time that you might recall the Student Opportunity Act. It was passed a few years ago. Over $1 billion being pumped into the school districts across the state over 7 years. That was where, with that original formula, we would have brought in an additional 56,000. I mean, I won't complain about 56,000, but it doesn't move the needle for us.
Doesn't
It
do anything
just
for
doesn't. So it's already, there was a formula built to give districts an increase. At the same time that's already built in, we had an enrollment increase of 32, which helps us. That's good. But the real significant one is that we had more individuals qualify as low income. So during the pandemic, we had 150 families who were kind of on the edge, if you will. And unfortunately, they went below that threshold and qualified. The only plus to that is formula-wise, it gives us as a town more funds to then be able to provide more services to these students. And that money's gonna be incredibly well spent. But those were the two drivers that made the change possible for us. And in past years, it wouldn't have had this kind of impact. It just happened to coincide with kind of the perfect timing with that Student Opportunity Act
So
formula.
with COVID over.
Yep.
And people being able to find jobs and get back to work,
Right.
that low income will increase.
Well,
Maybe.
depending how you look at it, could
Maybe.
decrease.
Depends if they.
Well, it depends, but what I'm saying is,
Well, when you say-
what I'm saying is the 150 low-income families may not be 150 next year, right? So they may not be classified.
They might find the job and do better, so that number would decrease.
Okay.
But I think we're saying the same.
We are saying the same thing.
Oh.
So my question is, what you're saying though is regardless of that fact, that 1.2 million will not go away.
Bingo, you got it.
That's what I was trying
So
to.
that's actually what we would hope would happen. That would be great, absolutely great.
Okay.
In terms of the projections, Evan touched on it earlier. It's unbelievable.
We're gonna take that computer away from you.
Real
dude.
bad at this, I gotta tell you.
No, you're doing great.
I saw that.
We talked about the
Yes.
projections, 3, 5, if we can do longer, fantastic. We reached out to Dan Gale, and Dan Gale used to be our Director of Finance. Dan, when we hired him, worked full-time as a financial projection specialist in Worcester. That was his thing, and his hobby was Chapter 70. So, I mean, he's the guy to call. So I called, said, either over April break, in your spare time, this is what he does in his spare time, would you be willing to dive into our Chapter 70 numbers and our projection numbers and give us like a report for the schools? Reached out to Evan, said, I'm thinking about doing this for the schools. I need to do it for Chapter 70. What do you guys think? And they were 100% all in.
Absolutely.
I called Dan. Dan thinks that's a fantastic idea. So we are going to meet with him in April with Evan and Mary. Basically just lay out what our needs are. If you know Dan, he's going to have a spreadsheet ready to go and have it all organized. And he will produce a report. He'd be more than happy, I'm sure, to come in and speak and talk to it. But
That's good.
I think he's fantastic. I think it's a great idea, and I think the partnership is perfect. All right, Evan. The other way that we bring in money from the state is through entitlement grants. These entitlement grants are not competitive grants. Like, you sit down and you write it and you cross your fingers and you hope you get it. It's automatic that you get it. So we know these monies, they fluctuate obviously a little bit every year, but usually not by much. And most of the monies that we bring in through these grants are utilized for salaries, and they're just a given year after year. So they total about $900,000. And then we'll switch to the right side in expenditures. I have a few different charts. In some ways, they kind of show the same thing, just in different ways. So this is a chart that shows our expenditures by expense type. You'll see that we are about 85% personnel. So the other salaries, and I'll speak to that in the professional salaries together right there, that's 75, and then a lot of our contracted service, clerical salaries are all dedicated to people. Great. This is just another way of, again, looking at our entire budget. You can see instructional services. We are a school district. That makes sense. And in green are the employee benefits. Again, the great majority go to our personnel. There was a piece on there about, here it is. This is, again, just another way. This is just our teaching services and materials and supplies in professional development connected to instructional service. Once in a while I'll hear, we have too many pencils or we have too many whatever. The stuff, if you will, the materials are down in instructional materials, equipment, and technology, and it's 0.85%. So it's the smallest fraction. Again, we are almost entirely personnel. In terms of other teaching services, which is in green, that's broken down for the paraprofessionals that we have, medical and therapeutic services, library, media clerks, and all of our substitutes. In terms of additional personnel, in this FY23 budget, we've requested 5 positions, 2 special education teachers, one at the high school, one at the middle school, a grade 2 teacher at North Street. We have a large group coming up from grade 1 into North Street, and we have a large kindergarten going into first grade. So once in a while, we'll have just an individual grade that's a bubble that we'll go through. If it's an individual grade, we can kind of just move staff and chase that bubble. But when it's a couple bubbles in a row, we can't do that.
What does the kindergarten class look like coming in the fall? Is it
At this
too
point,
early to tell?
Yes, too early to tell. We just budget and base our staffing off the numbers from the previous year.
Gotcha.
That's served us pretty well in the past. Kindergarten kind of kills us in some ways in that we'll have people to show up in August. There's no grade level that makes me.
Well, I guess why I'm asking that question is, so you said if there's a 1-year bubble, you move the teachers up. So now you added a first grade teacher last year because you needed to.
Yep.
The kindergarten class coming in, you still need that first grade teacher, so now you've added a second grade teacher.
Yep.
So I'm gonna assume next year, you're gonna need a grade 3 teacher.
Yep.
The question will be, can you move that grade 1 teacher up to grade 3, or will you have to now add another teacher? So that's why I asked the kindergarten question.
No,
but
it's a great question.
It's too early to
You
tell.
could do this.
Okay.
No problem.
What?
You could do it.
Yeah.
That was
Perfect. That's exactly what I think about and worry about.
Chuckling to myself.
An intensive needs.
Just pay attention to your job over there, Ruben.
We have an intensive needs nurse at Millbury Street. That's a great thing. You can say, oh, that's an additional cost, but we have done as well as any district I've ever seen with building programming to keep students here in Grafton. I've talked about it every year, and every year it's become stronger, and with every program we develop, eventually those students move to the next school, and some of those students in programs need nursing to go with them. So that's what this is. So it's a cost, but without a doubt, we save money.
Oh, absolutely. And I would say probably the same with the special ed teachers that you're bringing in.
100%.
Do it in district instead of sending it out of
nothing like
district.
a nice to have.
Yep.
That's about providing needed, high quality.
And saving money.
The arts teacher at Grafton High School, we've been short this one position for a couple of years, and by default, what happens is we push more students than we'd like to, and it's typically into phys ed. And phys ed isn't a bad thing, but you can have too many kids, and you have kids that take phys ed 8 billion times, and we'd like to move away from that. So we're going to be focusing on drama, the arts, and probably tied to that public speaking. And then continuation of positions into FY23. This one I didn't consider a COVID position, but it's a clerical nursing position. We did add it because we were swamped, beyond swamped, in terms of clerical related to nursing with COVID, close contact tracing, all of that. But we quickly realized, even without COVID, that position was needed probably a decade ago, to be honest. So we just built it in, and we're just going to keep it going forward.
So that's currently in the FY22 budget
Correct.
you're paying for.
Yeah. Projected enrollment, which kind of goes to what you were talking about, Mark. We have NASDAQ come in every few years, New England Development Council, I think. They do a really good job in diving into enrollment. In the budget book, there's maybe a 10-page section of enrollment analysis from NASDAQ. You can see we're going to remain relatively stable. Their numbers have been very solid. Could things change? Sure. But you typically don't see massive changes unless...
I need to learn how to read a chart. I'm looking at the bottom going, they're only adding 1 student a year. All right. Just a little comedy for the town. All right.
You can enroll in kindergarten.
So it certainly won't be exact, but you get it, I expect it to be level. The only time the districts typically see massive changes is really if they just fall apart financially. If they have an override, it fails, and you have massive budget cuts, you have a mass exodus with school choice, for example.
Your school choice is still pretty strong, isn't it?
Awesome.
This budget will help
Probably the
maintain that.
best. Yeah, we bring in every year 600,000 to 700,000.
That's
have
awesome.
No change in staffing. We don't turn the heat up because of the extra kids. We don't have extra buses. It was one of the best things that we've done. We've brought in about $4 million in the past
amazing.
8 years. So, yeah, that's been great.
Is the chapter 70 number given to you in a lump, or is it based on the number of students. So if our enrollment goes down, does that number change, or is
Yeah,
chapter 70 just level regardless of
It would
student?
change, say we had mass exodus this year, just pretend, that next year, it's part of the formula. So that next year that would happen.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So it could go, because I know you were saying that it can't, that additional money that got added couldn't go down, but just trying to wrap my brain around how.
I can't even imagine what it would take to really move that number.
move it, okay.
I mean, if 1,000 kids moved out of the district, sure.
Right, right.
I've never seen,
I've never seen.
all my years, I've never seen a chapter 70 number go down,
Yeah,
ever.
I never have either. But when we do the projections and that analysis, that'll be in there too.
Okay.
You know, if the number goes down or if it goes up, people bring every day, what if we have all the developments actually,
Right.
happen? What
Have
happens?
5 kids
Okay.
each, yeah.
So we will have that analysis soon. In terms of concerns, I already talked about the COVID and the nursing. With every passing day, I think we're in better shape. My worry would be if there is a spike and we do have to go to that earmark, it's actually finding people. That's the tough thing. We got out ahead of almost all the hiring, and it served us incredibly well at the beginning of the pandemic. But those districts that didn't get out in front of it and just couldn't, for whatever reason, they never caught up. They just couldn't find people. So that would be the challenge. And if it spikes, it's not going to be a Grafton spike.
It's gonna be statewide.
Statewide, and everybody's going to have the same problem. So certainly I worry about that. And we're doing so much better with the paraprofessional hiring. That, much like the substitute market, it just disappeared. Nobody could find paraprofessionals. Nobody. So we had to go to agencies. And with agencies, you're paying top dollar to fill positions, but they have to be filled. So I don't know what, maybe 20? I don't even know how many agency paras, but let's say 20, low 20s. I mean, you can't do that long term. It will just bust the budget. But we have 8 as of today. So that's great.
Is the goal to get rid of those 8?
Yeah.
Or is-
Oh, yeah. A few of
When I say
them-
get rid of, mean replace them with permanent hires. It's-
100%.
Okay, I don't want people, I want to make that clear. I'm not having a good
few
time
are-
here tonight. You've jinxed
I
me.
know, I'm rubbing off on you. Yeah.
Few of them are tied to medical needs, and they've got backgrounds that I don't see that happening. But we could financially make it through 22 with these 8 if we had to. But we've replaced 6 just over the past maybe 3 weeks. Like, that's fantastic. There were weeks and weeks that we couldn't find one para. So to get down to 8 is wonderful.
That's good.
And I'm almost done. All right, so capital's been fantastic. I couldn't be more excited about the coming year in terms of capital, especially this summer. Our fingers are crossed that we don't run into too many supply chain issues with that. But in the FY23 capital, we have 529,000 worth of projects.
And that's in your 1 point, okay.
Yep, that's fantastic for us. Previous years, we were probably averaging maybe 250, 270, and again, with
That's good use of the
600.
capital override.
that, that's awesome for us. The middle school is for over a decade, has been in incredibly rough shape, and this summer, we're going to really be able to essentially refurbish that building.
Nice. Great.
Just this week, we didn't have heat 2 days. We eventually turned it on, but one of the days was really cold. I thought if it hadn't come on, we would have had to do some kind of early dismissal. It would have been a mess. That's just this week, 2 days.
And all those units are going to be replaced this summer?
Oh, that's the hope. It's funded. We're hoping they show up.
That's the ARPA funds for that.
Yeah, that's largely ARPA, and we have 2 grants, the
grants,
Green Community, and there was a legislative earmark. And again, Mary and Evan were instrumental in making that happen. I think I'm almost done. Additional capital improvements, you just touched on the HVAC system at GMS. We are using school choice money. We are finally going to refurbish the auditorium at GMS. If you've ever sat on those wooden chairs, you probably remember it. We want to make that, it's not going to be the Hanover Theater, but it's going to be functional. And right now it isn't. We don't really want to rent that out. Nobody in their right mind wants to go and spend 3 hours in that auditorium. You just don't.
I remember that auditorium well.
Through a partnership with MassCore, we are going to, at a fantastic price, be able to have a really functional auditorium. So that's great. We're going to do a handicapped accessibility project at Millbury Street. If you've been over there, it's a weird setup, but you have to park on each side of the building. So somebody who needs accessibility, there is no parking in the front. So we're going to create parking. That was in FY22 capital. With COVID and everything going on, we couldn't find a contractor to do it last summer. So we're lined up to do it.
Oh, so the money was approved last year?
Yeah. So we got it's either going to be April break or the beginning of the summer. And then along with that, we've got the paving at South Grafton Elementary School in the back. They have a large blacktop that's got huge cracks in it. It's a mess. So we've already got funding through last year's capital to do that. And we applied for CPA funds for potentially a new playground and accessibility at that same location.
That was an interesting presentation at the CPC on that particular project.
Yeah. So we've got our fingers crossed. But at least it will be paved. It would be great if it could be accessible. And I think that's it.
You're happy?
Oh, thrilled. Yep.
This is the happiest I've seen you in all my years on the finance committee.
Yeah, I think we're in great shape, and I'm very optimistic about 24 and 25 as well.
I want to thank Evan, Mary, and Anita, and Jay for the great work, working together, getting things done. This is just a great budget season. Open it up for questions from the members of the finance. I see Dan is online.
Yes.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Skip. I see you guys are both there. So, Dan, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes. So going back to the Chapter 70 increase and the low-income students increase. So the if I understand it correctly, the idea behind that is that students from lower income families tend to require more services.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a concern that you may need? I'm not sure exactly what, but more of something, and that money will end up being used for that?
Great question. No, I'm definitely not concerned. We don't, like our staff, nobody, even me, unless I purposefully looked, would know of an individual student's status in terms of socioeconomics. So we base that on obviously qualitative teacher feedback, our quantitative assessments. Like we've been set up for that for the past 10 years and will be going forward. So any of those students who are now, if you will, identified as falling into that bucket or that criteria, if there was a need, that's already been identified and we're already set up to address that.
Okay.
Anything else, Dan?
Nope.
Skip? Skip?
He's trying to find his unmute.
Oh,
Bottom left.
there he goes.
Well, bottom left, top right, the screen, the one with the three dots on it.
Right in the
So
center.
my question was, as far as your projections with enrollment, are we looking at the single family housing predicted construction as well as the affordable housing stuff that we have?
Yeah, both are in there. In the book, in the budget book, is NESDEC runs out both of it takes into account both.
So what he's saying is that all that new growth that we're looking at, all these housing projects that are coming down the pipeline,
It's in there.
those projections are in those projections. Is that what
Correct.
you're asking, Skip?
Yeah, well, I just see that there's the proverbial 300 units on Westboro Road, and then another 100 and some odd units up in the center of town they're talking about. Just wondering if that's all rolled into this as well.
And Jay's saying it is.
As far as the affordable housing goes, and then the single family developments that are going in town as well.
Yep, it is. I can't off the top of my head tell you which page it's on in that report, but I'm happy to look at it and circle back to the whole committee.
Excellent. Anything else, Skip? Anything else from any member of the committee?
No.
Go ahead, Greg.
I had a similar question to that. I assume that a lot of the decrease there is from having several large larger than normal classes that are kind of moving out of the school system now,
Yeah.
starting with this year.
Yep. Yep.
So let me ask you, that leads to a question back to school choice. Does that open up more slots within the district to bring more students from out of district? Thereby building up your revenues even more? Or is that a dangerous game to play?
It could. That's a really good question. I'm trying to think of the best way to answer it. I had my initial real lesson in school choice back before I was a superintendent with the superintendent in Holliston. And he drove home, I can't tell you how many times he told me just to be careful about not getting greedy with it. So from the very first time I presented on it, I said, looking at all the data, ballpark about 10 students per grade level is really pretty safe for us. We do have one grade, I think it might be 11th, that might have 16 kids, but that was just an abnormally small group.
Yeah, because once you bring them in that first year, you own them for the,
You own them throughout.
Throughout, yeah.
So I'd rather always be a few
Sure.
kids conservative than that 1 year I push it to kind of get greedy, because it's great. It's been wonderful. I mean, the kids that come in, I mean, that's first and foremost, but people thought they'd be labeled as school choice kid. None of that happens.
No.
They are Grafton kids. They do sports. They do everything. It's been absolutely fantastic. So it certainly crossed my mind in the tough budget years. I was, believe me, I looked. And
but
I
when
thought,
you have, but so you have an idea of how many students you want to let in through school choice.
Oh,
and
yeah.
regardless of the availability, you're going to be conservative
it's
in those.
very
instances.
purposeful.
Okay.
From 15 down, we have a class, and it was with COVID too.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, but we have 3 in, I think, grade 2.
Okay.
I could and we may slowly ramp that back up. There's capacity there, but with everything going on with the remote learning, we just had enough going on to not pull kids in and try to include them remotely, and so we may build it back a little bit.
Okay, okay. Anything else? Yep. Anything else from anybody else?
Good presentation.
Thanks.
Excellent. But,
you
oh,
for having us.
we have a question from the audience. Ms. Ma?
Hello, Finance Committee. I'm Amy Marr, 36 Ferry Street. I'm the chair of the school committee. I did want to add a little bit about the NESDEC projections, because they take into account total buildable land in town. So they're not looking at these projects that are just coming up that we're just hearing about. They did this study in 2019, and they looked at all the land in Grafton, and they said, if we, in 10 years, built up every single piece of land to its maximum capacity by law, this is what your enrollment change would be. So I feel very confident that even if all of those projects come to fruition, they're not going to, right? We've been through this before. We're still going to be okay.
And those
I think-
NASDAQ numbers take that into consideration?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do an excellent job.
That's a good, thank you. That's a
Yep.
good explanation. Anything else from anybody? Jay, Anita, thank you so
you all
much.
for having us.
Awesome presentation. We appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you for your time. So, that said, we have a school budget proposal of $41,858,117. Do I have a motion to support? Andy, Sue,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
You missed the day, Sue, when I used to make motions left and right regularly, didn't you? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, no, can't do it. I gotta go back to roll call. I forgot they're here.
Oh,
So we'll do
Sorry.
by roll call. No, don't be sorry. Sue,
aye.
Heather.
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
Mark, aye.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
Oh,
Skip.
Just raise your hands.
Wake up, Skip.
I'm just trying to get the right unmute button, because it seems different this time than it has any other time. Yeah. Yes, aye.
And Dan.
Aye.
Thank you. So,
Just to be clear, that was a joke. Sorry. I'm not sorry at all.
I didn't think you were, Dan. Mary, I'm not gonna ask Evan.
I got it now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Should I trust him, Mary? All right, so going back to the capital articles, we have the $1,298,271 for BVT. Added to that is,
Our capital, which is $1,509,750, subtracting the CPC proposal, which gives us a new total number of $2,758,021.
and from that, $1,170,750 is coming from cap stabilization?
No, it's 146.
146.
9750. Oh, sorry, Jesus.
What? I'm
It's a
just,
capital stabilization. I apologize. Yeah, I know, this is going very poorly.
We're gonna let Jay do both the budgets next year.
You really should. You really should. I'm gonna blame it on Angelina. Really? I mean, she
she asked the
I was
question.
doing really well before she asked that question, and now I don't know what I'm doing. Hold on one second. Let me just get back to my.
I'm just curious.
Yes, yeah, sure, that's great. Let me get there.
Hey, I think there's gonna be 2,031 students in the school district.
Out of capital stabilization. Is that that was your question?
Yes.
Correct? $1,170,750.
That was the number.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I said, and you said no.
I said yes.
All right.
And then free cash is still 229?
What? Who's talking at the same time as you? This is not my fault.
I think we have to say-
Multiple people
we
are
asked the
talking
same
at the same
question.
time.
Is free cash still 229?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, 229.
Okay.
That was the other stuff
Oh,
I've
we
got
know
going
Evan
with-
can't
with-
multitask.
No. He's not
All right.
multitasking well.
So we have a capital article budget that includes the capital budget and the BVT assessment for a total of $2,758,021. Do I have a motion to support that as presented?
So
I'm waiting
moved.
for Heather to add them up.
Well, I want Heather to be comfortable. Do you agree with those numbers?
I do.
Okay, Heather agrees.
So moved.
Is there a second? Was there a second? Did I get it? Motion?
Second.
Second, okay. So Sue moved it, Angelina seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call. Sue?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Mark, aye. Angelina?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Skip?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
got another issue on the spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
In fiscal 23 adjusted, that 50,000 that's in original should have carried over to adjusted as well. So you
Oh,
need
so
to do
interfund transfers.
transfer 50,000.
And what is that, Evan?
OPEB.
Oh, we're putting 50,000 into OPEB?
Yeah, our plan is to build that up by 50 grand each year and ratchet it up.
Okay. Any,
$1 billion, right? Just gotta get to.
Yeah, I mean, it really does nothing, but I was on a call with S&P, so I have to be doing
it helps you.
I got
Oh, yeah, if you don't do it,
It does.
they'll ding you.
Well, and they want to see that you have a plan, and that's
Yep.
that's our plan. And I told them that, it's not a great plan, but it's what we can do right now, and they perfectly happy with that.
So they didn't say take the rest of your unexpended tax capacity, put it into OPEB?
No, but I was actually like trying to hide that a little. I'm like,
I don't
we're
blame you.
tapped.
I'd entertain a motion to support a $50,000 interfund transfer to the OPEB fund.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those by roll call. Sue?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Mark? Aye. Angelina?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Skip?
Aye.
And Dan?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. So that's the budget. So congratulations, Evan. I want to thank you again
Thank you, and Mary.
and Mary for your great efforts in putting that budget together and listening to some of the concerns that the Finance Committee had and making some alterations in your proposed budget. I think that's excellent. So thank you very, very much. So next on the agenda is to talk about the schedule of
Mark.
upcoming.
I just wanted to.
Go ahead, please.
Excuse you. Did you find out about Honeywell project in our operating budget, the capital that's in there? I know it's in there.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
How much? It's capital debt, but it's in the operating budget. And it was the Honeywell project. There was like $1 million that went in. And it was on, I don't remember how many years are left on it.
I have to look into that.
Let us work on that while you're
Sure.
doing that, because Angelina threw us off our game, and now we're trying to get back here.
Angelina.
Okay, you got one more, and that's it.
Because he put that in the capital.
All right, so the upcoming meetings of the Finance Committee, we have Wednesday, April 20th, and Thursday, April 21st, 7 o'clock here in this room and hybrid to meet with the various warrant articles, to review the warrant articles, and then we have a meeting, if necessary, Zoom webinar only on Tuesday, the 26th, if we need it, but we'll see, we'll play that by ear. You're gonna advertise, Sue, all of those?
Yes,
Okay.
we'll start advertising next week.
Okay.
why it was imperative to.
And the warrant closes on,
The warrant is closing on April 19th.
okay. And as of right now, you see we have a list here, and I received an email this afternoon, late this afternoon from William, and there seems to be an update of articles, and there's not gonna be a special. It's gonna be one town meeting that starts at 7 o'clock, all fiscal year 22 business. They'll have an article, the article will specifically say fiscal 22 business. So we don't have to do that. So it looks like right now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. About 36 articles right now.
So how many of them were for fiscal 22?
I would say, looking at this list, you have, on here, you're probably looking at one, that's a fiscal budget, two, transfer within that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right now, Sue, it looks like there are 5
Okay.
fiscal 22 articles. And you're gonna do those up front at the beginning of the meeting, it looks like, according to this list? Evan,
He can't multitask.
Bueller, anyone?
Doing Sue's question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please don't
Yes, he's-
interrupt
I
him.
believe
I
that.
tell
Thank
you,
you.
he
Sure.
can't multitask.
Oh, they'll be at the front.
Okay, that's what, all right, I was right,
Whatever you want, Mark.
So it looks like, I love you, Evan. It looks like, that we're gonna be, I think we'll be able to get it done in 2 nights. We'll talk, because most of those articles are submitted by the town administrator. And, we'll probably need a solid block for the CPC to come in with their various projects. Evan will probably do the most, and I saw there were 3 zoning articles on there. So I think we can probably get it done in 2 nights. We'll try to get it done in 2 nights. And if we need that 3rd night by Zoom, we'll do it by Zoom on the 26th. And then after that, the town meeting is on May 9th. So we'll have town meeting on May 9th. We'll probably have the meeting on May 5th, the joint meeting with the moderator and the school select board and the administration to do the pre-town meeting review. Then Wednesday, May 18th, we're looking hopefully to have a meeting date for the Finance Committee, Appointment Committee, if we have somebody to fill that slot. But we're gonna talk about an article that I'm proposing, and I'll tell you why I'm proposing it.
Excuse me.
Yep, go ahead. Did I miss something?
So though that day would primarily be for renewal?
Oh, for renewal. Oh, so
Yeah.
that's just the Finance Committee, Appointment Committee.
Yes.
Okay, never mind.
Yes, but then then Finance Committee would begin at 7 o'clock if you feel the need. There's a little or down there.
Oh, gotcha. Or we
So-
just wait till the end of the fiscal year to do our annual organization, go for the summer, line item transfers. Mary, did you want to do line item transfers earlier than the end of the year? You said you were gonna try to do it sooner rather than later, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna plan on either the 1st or 2nd week of May.
So that'll probably be at a select board meeting, we'll do a joint meeting with them, so Tuesday night. We'll just have to check and see what our schedules are, and see if we can get there.
I thought we were going to do that on the 5th. Were we going to combine that in The joint
uh,
meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Following the,
Yeah, I can have it ready.
would you like to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought
Whatever.
that's.
No, you're right, you have it here on the
that's
list, I missed that, my eyes went over that. That makes sense,
Because we'll all be together.
Yes.
makes sense.
Continue.
If Mary's right, I don't wanna, seeing the way Evan was doing things tonight, I wanna make sure you're comfortable with the
No,
numbers.
I've already been
Oh, okay.
working on them.
I'm just saying, Evan.
Listen, I'm right there with you.
Okay,
Quick question, Mr. Chairman.
go ahead.
With regards to the town meeting time, if we're not doing special, does that mean that the regular town meeting starts at 7 that night?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Because what would happen, you'd have, the meeting would start at 7 for the special. There'd be 3 articles, we'd be done at 7:05, and then we'd sit around for 25 minutes waiting for the town meeting to start, which I'm glad he's doing it all as one meeting.
I believe it starts at 7:30, the
Oh,
annual.
are you gonna start at 7:30 or 7?
According to
Yeah, the charter says 7:30.
7:30.
Okay. So do we want to
We don't have
adjust
to meet until 7.
We meet at
We-
7.
Oh, we meet at
our meeting till 7 and then town
And
meeting
then
at
the
7:30?
town meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Yep.
We need to change that. Why?
I
would
know,
we-
I don't, I just like it too.
Well, it's because of the special, that's why.
Oh,
That's because they always had the special at
Goes to
7.
the-
The
Ah.
School Finance Committee met at 6:30.
so now we can fix that.
Yeah.
Charter change. I like that.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Well, you already have.
I know, I'm going to regardless. So we're gonna have to get back to you on
Okay.
that exact number. The way they're set up in ClearGov, they're by article and date.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's just not clear, so we'd be guessing, so.
When was it
So
appropriated?
I have all of, I have
I-
all of
you have
that
all
in
of
my
it.
office.
I don't
Yeah.
remember, but I think we had several more years on it.
Yeah, I agree, Sue, and I have all of the Honeywell stuff
Okay.
in my office, so I will go over that with Mary and we'll get you that information.
Any other questions on our schedule? Sue, do you have anything else to add? Are you comfortable with that?
So on the June 22nd or June 29th, that could be all null and void. We may be able to get everything done by the 18th.
Maybe.
And then wait to see if Mary needs anything else in early July.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll play that by ear.
So,
Go ahead, Greg.
town meeting time is just in the bylaw, so it's only a bylaw amendment if we want to fix it,
Okay. there you
not a charter change.
I was gonna say that. Ah,
go. God, I'm done. Just done tonight.
We really should add an article this year to change the start time to 7. You may want to think about adding another article.
Okay.
Just suggestion.
Doing it right now. Sending something to William.
Next on the agenda is the state of the town message, and I have to say, excellent job, Mr. Ma.
Thank you.
We can start assigning more work to Greg as we go through this. I think this is good. Obviously, we have to fill in some of the blanks,
Yep.
but I think you did a nice job.
And
Uh,
I have
put in
I have some notes from the presentations tonight, so it's
that you can add.
a little
Perfect.
update.
Perfect.
I did have one question that I wasn't sure about, something that was used last year's. Was the town's combined free cash and stabilization reserves are within the 5 to 10% threshold? Is that still accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
And Greg pointed out before the meeting started that this is the 3rd year in a row that we're congratulating Sue on her retirement.
Yeah, I saw that. That was kind of tacky, I thought. I don't think we have to remind Sue that we're keeping her captive and she can't retire.
I know, but we've been very lucky, and you know how much we appreciate everything you do for us. We're very lucky to have you.
It's been very interesting timeframes.
Do you have an update on the search?
Yeah, I have 2 interviews next week.
Okay. Hopefully we'll find somebody.
Hopefully we will.
Okay. In terms of this, now obviously, Greg, you need to update. By the way, I can't thank you enough for doing this. You did a great job. Once you update all the numbers, if you can get that to Sue so she can give it to the committee, and
Yep.
maybe one of our tasks at the public hearing could be to approve the final.
Super.
And I'd love if you would include this with the warrant that gets handed out at town meeting.
Okay.
So I think is that okay with the
That'd
committee
be
if we do it that way?
That's a good
That's
idea.
fine.
Yeah.
So that would be awesome if we can do that. So anyway, Greg, thank you. I can't thank you enough for getting that done for us. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda is an update on the Finance Committee vacancy, and you saw that Sue gave an addition to the agenda, which was to talk about a possible bylaw article or town meeting article for this town meeting to eliminate the precinct requirement that every precinct have a member. Now, we've advertised the vacancy that right now is in
Can we
precinct.
get that off the screen so we can see the other two?
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Sue.
I
Great.
don't think I have the.
No. She just wants to see Dan
I
and
just
Dan
wanted
and
to
Skip.
see them.
She misses them.
Yeah, I do.
So we advertised it. We got 2 really strong applicants for the vacancy. Unfortunately, they were not in precinct 2, so we couldn't interview them. When Angelina and I met with Candy earlier this year on our budget review meeting, Candy pointed out that we are probably going to be going to a 6th precinct at some point. So,
In 10 years.
well, yeah,
Absolutely in
eventually.
10 years.
Eventually, we're going to be going to I'm thinking of the future, Sue.
Yep.
So once that would happen, we would have to amend the bylaw again at that time, because the way the bylaw is written is 5 and then no more than 4 from any one precinct. So now we'd have to change that to 6 with no more than 3 from any one precinct, or expand the size of the finance committee. So I tried to think, and I talked to a couple of people in town, and I said, what was the original thought process to have every precinct represented? Now, I've been on the finance committee, Sue, you've been on the finance committee, and Heather the longest. I've been on the finance committee for 4 years now. And I have to tell you, being a representative I've been a representative for precinct 3 and a representative from precinct 5, I don't know what that has done. So I'm wondering why that's important, because now we don't have the opportunity to appoint 2 really we had two really good candidates that we could have considered for that vacancy that we couldn't consider, because of the precinct rule. So I thought, let me put it before the finance committee. If you think this is a bad idea, tell me it's a bad idea and we won't move forward with it. But I don't know what we get out of having every precinct represented. Do you have any idea?
Well, I think, like, if you just look at what's happening with Wyman Gordon right now, with that whole situation, if you had only representation from South Grafton, then they might not be concerned with what's happening over there. I think maybe that it's just to have representation from, like, physically all over Grafton.
Yeah, I think that's
For the
why it was
different
set up.
issues that
Well,
come up.
well, to counter that, that is a project that's before the planning board. I do not believe the planning board has precinct requirements.
No,
Right?
but I think that's, like, she's using that as an
Oh.
example. There are things that we do work on, that we do vote on and work on that are like specific to
Precinct-specific.
different areas of town.
I have to say, Mark, I don't support this at all.
You don't like the idea?
No, I don't like
Okay.
the idea at all, because I really strongly believe in equal representation.
Okay.
And I think the intent of it was, the beginning, that there would be a voice from all sections of town.
Okay.
And
On the finance committee,
yes.
Okay.
And I think you're looking at something permanent for a temporary
problem.
problem.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because we've had vacancies in the past, and they've eventually were filled.
Okay.
So I just don't think that we're going to hear, there are people complaining now they're not being heard, they're not getting the representation. And if we take this away, I think it's even going to be worse.
Okay.
So I can't support this at
Understood.
all.
You do understand where I'm coming from. I'm not
Oh,
trying,
yeah,
I'm just,
I do.
it was just a
I
problem
do,
that we had.
but I think our precinct 2 will eventually be filled. They always get filled.
Okay.
So, I mean, we have gone for a few months without them. I think one year it was a whole year.
Okay.
Without it, but eventually they got all filled and we had all 9 members again. But it doesn't happen that often that we have these vacancies for long, so.
Skip? And did I see
I
Dan's
agree
hand up?
with Susan entirely, and that was an important thing back when I first started with Sue, whenever she started, because I think we kind of started at the same time, virtually, a gazillion years ago, was that we have somebody from each different part of town, and just because we have a small problem today, it doesn't mean that we should change that idea of representation from the different parts of town. If we do go to different precincts, we change the bylaw. Who cares? That's not a big deal.
Okay.
We've
All
done
right.
it before.
Dan, did
I
I
don't
see
see
your
that
hand
as
up?
a barrier or something that we should even consider in this deliberation.
Okay, I'm fine. Dan, did you have something?
Yeah, I kind of feel like the precincts aren't really meaningful divisions of town. Like precinct 5 especially is it's very long north to south, so it includes Wyman Gordon, but it also it stretches down to some parts of South Grafton, I think. So yeah, I guess I get the point of it, that it shouldn't, that it's meant to create representation from all parts of town, but it seems like it doesn't really seem like it does.
Of course it does.
Greg, go ahead.
It
So
does.
I don't like the idea of removing it entirely. I would be open to some modifications, such as if we are unable to fill a position and there are other applicants, then we could bring them in, but then we'd have to have some way of rebalancing it later. And another possibility would be, instead of using precincts, using zip codes or other thing, because people have asked, like, okay, well, do you have people from South Grafton? Do you have people from North? And that's the way that
Or you mean
people
go
could
like
tell that.
01519,
Yeah,
01560?
3 from each.
Yeah,
If that was something that we going forward had a problem getting people from certain areas, I'm not sure we're at that point yet.
Okay.
But if people felt strongly that this was something that they needed to do, that might be.
I'm getting the
one
impression
way
that
to
it's
resolve
not.
that.
So, did you, anything else you wanted to add?
I was kind of on the fence with this, because I honestly felt similar to Dan, that I I wonder how much dividing everybody, or precinct representation, mattered at this point. I could see it being very important back in the day, but I'd like to think that everybody would be objective enough to think about the town as a whole rather than needing specific representation. But at the same time, I didn't feel strongly enough that I think we need to change it. I've listening to some of the arguments against, I think it was a great point. The temporary, permanent fix to a temporary problem. If it's something that drags out, it could always be addressed again. But I think with a 9-member panel too, it's not as much of a burden. If we were say 5, it would definitely. But
Okay. Heather, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting when I never thought that a town would be so divided until I was involved in the schools and north and south. I was shocked at Amy knows. It's like north and what are we like in the Middle Ages? Like, why are we fighting like north and south? It's crazy to me. But having said that, I do like having. I think it needs to stay the way it is.
Okay.
I do agree. Like maybe you do it by zip code, or and maybe we do if it's open for a year or 6 months, we allow something. But I do think it needs to be.
Okay. I'm glad I put it on the agenda. I thought it was something that we should debate. I've heard you loud and clear. I withdraw the proposal. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry, Dan, I didn't look up.
So, I mean, I'm fine with that. Not moving forward right now. I like what Greg said though about the north, center, south division. Like I think that's much more meaningful to most people in town than precincts. Like I feel like people care a lot more about which village they're from than which precinct they're from. And I think maybe when the this bylaw review process goes on, that might be something worth talking about, seeing if there's a more meaningful way to come up with the representation. Because I do agree, having like the worst possible thing would have everybody from the same neighborhood on finance committee, just everybody from one area. And I agree that having representation across town is a good thing. I just feel like the precincts are not a very meaningful way of dividing up the town.
Agreed.
So
Agree.
I think we could, when the bylaw committee, we're supposed to have, Greg's gonna be our representative on that committee, when that committee gets up and running.
I was just going to suggest something like that. If it's not
out in front of you that time, Greg.
Yeah. So the other point towards using zip codes instead of precincts is your zip code's not going to change. We just had precincts change. Precincts are going to change again in the next 10 years, and we could end up with people that all of a sudden the precincts shift and we have a bunch of people from the same precinct, even though they're very geographically distributed.
Well, let me ask you a question. Say you have a re-precincting, and then all of a sudden, people that were in different precincts, all of a sudden we have 5 people that get lumped in a new precinct.
Right.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, so what would happen? Would somebody have to leave the finance committee?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that would be fun.
I just,
You knock down, drag out fights,
So-
who survives?
I would like to discuss this further when the bylaw committee, because I'd like to hear from the public we have to get public input to what they have to say concerning the precincts, because, I can understand where everyone is coming from this point of view. But it's just that I hear complaints that we're not being heard, we're not being represented, and that's what sticks with me the most.
Okay.
And so I always think, we need to have some equality. This has to be really thought through if you're gonna do it with the zip codes though.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, you just can't, I don't know how you're gonna divvy up a 9-member board for 3 zip codes.
3 each.
Well,
That happens. I think we're gonna have a
But
problem with this
Is
particular finance.
01519 as big as the other two though? Like, I feel like, cause
I
it
think
used
so.
to
You
be,
have to look at the.
it was,
I think you have to look at the numbers to see
Yeah.
how many are in each of those zip codes and what kind of
Yes, it's definitely
representation.
not black and white. You
cause it
definitely have
gets,
to look at
01519 gets split between the 2 school districts. So, because I used to live on
Well-
Chestnut Street and we were north Grafton, and then we moved to Christopher and we were south. We moved like a mile away from where we lived, and we ended up changing districts.
I think it's worth
I mean,
discussing.
changing north
I
to
think it's
south,
worth
so-
discussing.
I think it is. Oh, good. I'm glad I put this on. Now you have something to look at when you start that process. Skip and then Amy. Go ahead, Skip.
Yep, so I'll give you the historical perspective on this. There used to be 3 precincts, 3 different parts of town. There were 3 people from each part of town that were divided up by the post office. And then we had precinctitis that was written by population. And now we have to continually reevaluate the different number of precincts that we have. And as
Oh, that's
Dan
by state law.
mentioned, we have some odd-shaped gerrymandering of precincts, whatever you want to call it. If we want to stick with the original premise that we're going to give the 3 different parts of town 3 different people on the committee, then just go back to having the 3 different zip codes be represented by 3 people each, and then have a nice day instead of trying to change it, which is what I think kind of happened without looking forward when they went to 4 precincts.
Thank you. Amy.
I was actually going to kind of say the same thing because I had read about that. I think if people feel like they're not being represented on this particular committee, it could be that they don't realize what precinct they're in. I'm running for office, and every time I circulate papers, nobody knows their precinct until election day when they have to know, and they don't remember from year to year. So this is probably the most balanced committee in town in terms of precincts. If you looked at any other committee, you would see that, there are definitely some pockets. But I do like the idea of the simplicity of just dividing the town into 3, north, central, south, 3 reps each, go. And that might change the makeup of this committee, but it might not happen for another 5 years, so you never know.
Okay. I appreciate that, Amy. Thank you. Go ahead, Greg.
So there are some minor changes that I would like to make to this section, but seeing as how it's not a urgent thing now, I think we can leave it for the bylaw review committee.
Okay.
Basically, they talk about having a member from each precinct and 4 members are at large, which makes it sound like a person is assigned to a precinct, and that's not how the committee is worked. And then just removing the 4 members at large just as a number, so then we don't have to make any changes
As
later.
long as there's
when
one from
we
each
get
precinct.
yeah. If we stay with precincts, then we can just change it so
I
that.
have no problem with bylaw looking at it.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
They're bringing it back to us for our input.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's why we have a representation on there,
Yep.
which is good. Did we lose Skip?
He's
Yep.
on there, he's just not showing his camera, so he disappears from the G.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I looked up. I didn't see Skip. I got nervous.
too.
So next on the agenda, we have a couple of bills for approval. We have a bill for Sue for $84 for her internet. So I'd ask for approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those by roll call? Sue?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Mark? Aye. Angelina?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Skip?
Top right.
Couldn't get the blue thing right. Aye.
Jeez. Skip.
Well, it's the blue
This is why
thing,
you know
it's
what,
the
this is it. No
microphone.
more hybrid meetings or Skip has to be in the room. We have a bill for Gatehouse New England for $246. I entertain a motion.
Is that legal?
So moved.
Yes.
Legal.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those by roll call. Sue?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Mark? Aye. Angelina?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Skip?
So is this the point where I vote against my own motion?
Yes, it is. It is.
And Dan?
Aye.
Okay, any further business for us to discuss? Evan, Mary, thank you for such a great budget process this year. So excited we got the budget done.
Right at the end, I fell apart.
I think you did fine.
And we exhausted him out.
We did.
I was so stressed doing Jay's PowerPoint.
Well, the bottom line is we have confidence in Mary, so you don't have to worry about anything else.
All right, I'm just a figurehead. It's not really all Mary.
So anyway, thank you, everybody. Great meeting tonight. We'll
Yep.
see you on whenever we meet next, which is
April 20th.
April 20th. So
At
thank you,
7
everybody.
p.m. right here.
I'll call us adjourned. Dan, Skip, have a good night.